Today we're talking about mastering a Senko. You know, a lot of people think Senko fishing is fishing for dummies. You know, and it's so easy when we're taking a new fisherman out, you know, just to grab a small hook, throw a worm on it, tell them, you know, hey, just throw it out there, let her sink slowly, and cast it again. That's a whole lot easier than losing $10 baits on every cast, you know? So I think that's where it comes from, because really there's a lot to Senko fishing. I'm going to talk about that today. Okay, so what we got going on here is I looked on my phone on Google Earth and I found two isolated rocks that are about 10 feet apart from each other. I'm confident that there's going to be bass on those. So I'm trying to sneak in, right? The water's gotten really calm. The sun's out. The water is extremely clear. So I'm stopped the boat a long ways away. I'm going to use the trolling motor, kind of sneak in. I'm going to be quiet, man. You know what I mean? I'm not banging anything on the boat. I'm going to be quiet as I come in there. And I'm going to see if we can sneak up on these guys and get them. Because, you know, if they see you or whatever, or you spook them, it's tough to get them to bite. So we're going to see what's hiding in here.
Bam!
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's a good one. He's alright. Oh, come here. Come here. Jeez. Right in the top mouth. Just where you want him. Perfect hookup. That's a nice one. That's a nice one right there. We'll take him. Beautiful, man. See, we snuck up. Everything worked out on that. We snuck right up on him. There was fish sitting on it, so perfect. You know, Senko bait is great because it works all across the country and the world, really. The only thing I've seen is that it doesn't really seem to work that great in cold water. I don't know if it's a water temperature thing. I have a theory that it isn't until the spawn is over, until they've come off the beds, and then they got that feed bag on, and then it seems to start to kick in. As far as my rig goes, what I like to use, I got I like to try to find a six foot pole, and I want it, you know, light to medium light, because, you know, there's different times of the year where the bite gets really subtle on a Senko. So you need a really sensitive pole, and I use light line because of that also. One reason is I got to be able to feel those tiny little tinks. And the other reason is as the year goes on, the fish get wiser, you know what I mean? And it's tougher to get them to bite. So the thinnest line you can go with and still get them in the boat, the better. And that's because of sight. They'll see it. I like to use fluorocarbon. Our water here on Lake Ontario is got a bluish green kind of tint to it. It's very clear, very clear. So I use the monofilament because it's got that bluish greenish tint to it, and it pretty much disappears. And I use 8 pound. 8 pound. I go 6 sometimes. 6 pound test. You know, and these smallmouth around here on Lake Ontario and the St. Lawrence River, you can't just rip them in, man. You cannot do that. They fight. They'll break you off quicker than nothing, and they'll rip it right through their lips. They don't care one bit about that. So you have to finesse them in, and just keep pressure, keep that hook going up into the top of their mouth. This right here is the Wacky Rig. Now what I got going on here is a little weighted hook. It's a little jig hook, and it's got a 1/16 ounce, or no, I'm sorry, 1/32 ounce weight on it. It just gives it a little bit quicker of a fall, you know, and they got some kind of a name for that, for the rig, you know. There's weightless, and then they come up with a name on that. I don't know what it is, it doesn't matter. This is kind of something that I came up with on my own, really. I'd never heard about it. But I'm using, it's a Wacky Rig. So I just hooked the worm in the middle. And you know, notice how I didn't take it right through the big fat part of the worm. I only did it, had the hook come through about halfway, so that there's meat there. There's something for the fish to grab onto. You can fill this whole bottom part right up with worm, and then when you hook them up, I mean, it's just cutting down your chances. Yeah, nice one. Look at this. Barely in the lip. Boom, barely hooked him. That's a beauty. That's a beauty. You know, today what I'm doing is I'm fishing rock. I've noticed that they've been kind of hanging around rock, clinging to rock. So that's why I'm going to be using the Wacky Rig. Got very clear water. The sun's coming out. You know, and this is what I love about the Senko is, and what makes it challenging is that, you know, you got to make that precise cast around that rock. The fish will be hiding in the shadows around the rock, especially when the sun comes out like that. So one of the first things I do is look to see where the sun is. If it's behind me and the rock is up front here, well, I know he's going to be on the opposite side because that's where the shadow is. And you got to make a precise cast. You can't, you know, be casting way off, making 13 different casts before you get in the right spot, because the fish is going to know something's up. Why is it raining worms all over the place? You know, and a lot of times they'll come out to check it out, and then we reel it in because we made a bad cast. And it's done. It's done. You know, so you got to come up to that rock. You got to position your boat correctly. You got to make the precise cast. You know, and then I got to be paying attention to the bite. I got this light line on the light pole. You know what I mean? I got to wait until he really takes that bugger. You know, and you got to know. There's a lot of times we're getting bites we don't even know it. So I'm watching my line. I'm using feel on my pole, and I make a good hook set. Which the hook set, you know, when I'm jerk bait fishing, I crank her. I just throw it. They call it power fishing. So you just long cast, and I'm normally going to keep my pole tip, my rod tip down, and I just jerk, and then when I get hit, right, it usually hits it hard, or I feel something tug on it, it's a sweep. Well, with Senko, you want to keep, I keep my rod at kind of like a 45-degree angle pointing up. Okay, I'm going to have that up, and then when I go to set the hook, you set it up, and really what it is just a snap. You know, you get a little bit of tightness on your line. He starts nibbling, bing, 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 tighten the line up just a pinch, and snap. You don't have, it's not, you'll see me do this all the time. You know, like, you know, I mean, that just happens sometimes. So really, you want to just ping, snap it up, ram that hook right into the top of their mouth. You know, there's some cartilage and stuff right in there. You get that hook set in there, he isn't coming off. But, you know, and then at that point, because we're using light line, you gotta finesse them in. You know what I mean? And it's easing it there and easing it there and keeping that upward pressure, you know, and trying to get them into the boat. I mean, some of the ways that we fish, once you get the hook up, it's just pulling them in, man. The fish isn't coming off. You drag them right into the boat. It's the end of the story. Not this. Not this. You got to finesse the whole thing around, and the story's not over until you get them in the boat. Oh, nice one. Yeah. Nice log, man. It's huge. Barely had him. Barely had him. Look how long he is, man. Yeah, nice one. You know, when we get into that time of year where they're getting fussy, you know, they're sitting right there, and you're putting the worm in front of them, and they're just not biting anything, because they've seen 14 million of them that year. When they get fussy like that, one of the things that I'll do is go to a lighter line, for one. And another thing is scent. I kind of ran into this last year. Of course, you see it on the TV. You know, the pros use it. And I thought, you know, that sounds like a bunch of baloney to me. But I went out and bought some. This is called Pure Craw, and all it does is make your bait smell fishy. I also have some garlic. That's a dip. And you just dip in the ends of it. I use that occasionally, but that works. I'm telling you what, it does. It does. When they get fussy, man, I'll use the scent, and it's money in the bank.